Hi, class. As promised, there is the chapter six lecture. We're accessing our computer hardware. This will be a much shorter lecture than I normally do, and I'm going to take a minute to show you why now. I'll do so by sharing my screen. Okay, so we go into our e-class. For our unit two, I've put in this required viewing. It's inside computer hardware. It's a 17-minute, almost 18-minute video dissecting a desktop computer piece by piece using AI, virtual reality, and high speed camera functions to take our CPU and cut it up piece by piece. Remember, our CPU is the brain of the computer. It cuts up our memory, our storage, our graphics processor units, and really does a great job in telling you what to do. I showed this in my Tech for 21st Century class at Marist, and it was met very well. And that team actually has a quiz on the video. Um, as I know your workload is large for our class, and this is determined by our department. It's not just me. I've heard some things about workload in the class. Let you know that everyone that takes this course does it. I hope I'm doing it in a way that's enjoyable. But like I said, no added quiz or anything like that, but it will make everything in our lecture and your readings come to life. So, with that said, let me get to our slides. And like I said, we won't um, spend much time here because I want more time in the video for you all. So, we're looking at CPU and what it does, RAM and what it does. We'll hear the video say DRAM. CPU central processor unit. It's the brain of the computer. It controls all the activity from keyboard into operating system and how everything functions inside your computer. DRAM or DRAM, dynamic RAM, is short-term volatile memory that sends commands from the CPU to either an application or to storage. We'll look at solid state and magnetic disks. They do a really good job in the video on that. We'll quickly look at video cards and sound cards because, again, the video takes care of that. And we'll talk about recycling and donating. So, in my world, speed of computers is measured in megahertz. In this Moore's law, which is what's depicted here, it's the speed of processors doubling every 18 months. It's now about every 6 months. We see some processors here, and it's the timeline for Intel's processors. Right now, Intel, Snapdragon, AMD, and Apple all make CPUs. I'm not saying one's better than the other. I prefer my Intel i7 Ultra Surface laptop. i9 processors, really the top of the lines for gaming. That's what we see cut apart in the video. There's an i3, an i5, and i7 regular, and like I said, the i7 Ultra. But Snapdragon is the latest and greatest to the marketplace. We're seeing a lot of advertisements on their processors. Mostly they've been in mobile phones, but now they're going to other devices. And we'll see DRAM and hard drive. What's our ideal computer or mobile device? That's really up to you. A lot of us are tied into this Apple ecosystem, like my son who has a MacBook on the ecosystem, and nothing to my daughter. She has a Surface laptop herself. But we have to determine, do we want a desktop computer in all its parts, which depicted here? Do we want an all in one where everything's in the screen? Do we want a mini computer that we can attach to the back of the computer? Do we want a laptop? How big do we want the laptop? Do we want a two-in-one, which is a tablet and a computer itself, like my Surface laptop is? Do we want a tablet or just a phone? A phone. The motherboard is our landing place for all technology in our computers, including our CPUs. And we'll see this taken apart in the video. It takes instructions from our inputs and sends them somewhere. Our author only lists Intel and AMD, but like I said, Snapdragon and Apple have become big players in the CPU market. If I go to about here, as depicted on our screen, I can show you the new system about. My processor, as I said, was an Intel Core i7 165 hertz, extremely fast device, running at 3.8 gigahertz. Not really concerned with the nuts and bolts of processors. If you were taking a ISIT degree, you may learn about processors. It's really a computing engineering course that you really get into this. Processors are measured in cores. They do a great job in the video in showing us cores and cache memory. Both are needed. Cores emulates or virtualizes CPUs on our one CPU. Like I didn't remember seeing how many cores was in my processor. So let me go look. I'm going to look up how many cores my processor has. This is my processor. It has 16 cores, 6 of which are for performance, 8 of which are for efficiency, and 2 are low powered. And we see the max effect of my processor and so on. But Intel's the biggest player in the processor game, followed by AMD, followed by Apple, then Snapdragon. There's 2 types of memory in our computers. I'm going to start bottom up. Read-only memory, or ROM, is non-volatile. It is always there. It's a small little chip on our motherboard that stores a program called BIOS. BIOS is a utility that every computer has that works on startup, telling all of our peripherals inside our computer to wake up. RAM is volatile, so once it sends a command that it was given from the CPU, once it sends it somewhere else, that memory comes back and is available for us to use. RAM is held on the motherboard. What we're looking at here are 8 gig chips for a desktop computer. Laptop memory is about half. You can get up to 64, 128 gig chips, depending on what your device can hold. Our author only lists 8. That at the time of this writing was what would be a good performance for the Windows operating system. Now it's really 16 gigs. Memory used to be easy to install. It no longer is. We see this technician just opening the back cover of their laptop and putting memory in. That's the way laptops used to be. Now, about half of our laptops can't even be upgraded because their memory is included in the motherboard. It doesn't come on a chip like this. And the others, to get at the motherboard itself, you have to take the computer apart, the keyboard off, and it is quite a hassle. Desktops are much easier to upgrade memory on. You pop the side cover, pop memory in and out. So, what does that mean? You want to buy as much memory as you can afford. It's really the most important thing when buying a computer. Yeah, you need a fast processor, you need a certain amount of hard drive, but we need a lot of memory. We look at hard drives, we have a mechanical or magnet hard drive. It works like a record player or a vinyl player. We have a head, we have a spindle with discs. You put the head on the disc and it spins and writes. This was an older type hard drive, now replaced by a solid state drive, which is a silicone chip, much like your memory or anything else on your motherboard. Solid state drives are very fast, but a little more expensive than our traditional mechanical hard drives. Our author then gives us some recommended storage for different applications we have. Um, you can see if you had all this stuff on your laptop, you would need a 50 gig hard drive. I mean, a 500 gig hard drive at minimum. But this space, you probably need to buy a terabit hard drive. But most of the stuff we now can access on the cloud, so we don't worry about it. We're not going to talk about RAID. It's really meant for servers, which we're not really talking about here. I emphasize to you all to use cloud storage, whether it's Google Drive or OneDrive. It's the safest place to compute. In fact, I don't store anything on my laptops. I just keep a shortcut to what's in my OneDrive. Then we talk about graphics processors. These have hundreds of cores in them doing one function or another, but their main job is to provide us inputs to produce an output. So we see DVI, which is kind of an old input. We see HDMI and DisplayPort, which was an IBM thing. So we'll take our cables from our external monitors, plug them into here, and the graphics processor will take from memory and a hard drive in our applications and put something on our screens. I'm not going to get into sound systems. All of our computers have a sound card. Many have ports where you can plug in a wired headset. Why our author is bringing up surround sound here is beyond me. But what we see here is a media room for a television. We have a subwoofer, which produces bass. We have front, left, and right speakers. And then we have our surround speakers in the back. Yeah. Then we see different types of sound cards and what they can produce. It's really any sound that you can generate from an input to an output. How do we keep our devices running well? Well, we have an antivirus program where we monitor each day for viruses. We update our virus signatures. We do our operating system upgrades whenever we can. We clean out our hard drive. We clear our cache and our history in our browsers. We don't go places in our browsers where we're not supposed to go. Should a system of ours crash, the first thing we do is shut it off. We'll unplug it. We'll wait a couple of minutes. We'll plug it back in and see if we get good results. If we don't, we hop on Google and see what the results might be based on an error on another device. We can reset our operating system, whether it's Mac OS or Windows, or we'll take it in and get some help from a professional like myself. Then, lastly, our author talks about green computing. We see a dump here. We don't store digital equipment or batteries in landfills. They all must be disposed of properly. Many colleges and communities have free e-cycling days. You can check with your IT department or your town hall to see if you have one. There's many companies that offer them as well, and most landfills will take e-waste and recycle it properly. But we really don't want all this stuff in a landfill. So we first should try to donate. If we do donate, we take all of our data off and just leave the operating system. We, in essence, reset the computer, then give it to a donation. Second, we e-cycle it. And that's really the methods to stay green. And I recommend either to you. Like I said, we have that 17-minute video to watch. It'll break everything down for you in great detail. And I appreciate you all. Thank you.